This playthrough is rated T for teen.
Alright, it's time to figure out what this guy looks like. Greetings and salutations, viewers. Vauldemare back here with another episode of Sherlock Holmes vs. Jack the Ripper. In the last episode, we put together the timelines and figured out a good course for the recent murders. Now we just have to put together the guy's outfit to figure him out, like what he looks like.
Have you assembled all of our material, Watson?
Well, let's grab everything. Scout. And then let's go.
I have no reason to go that way.
Don't want to just leave? Just don't want to leave for your responsibility, Mr. Watson? This place always gets a bit messy during a crime. There's the poster there, knife. The basically stuff that we don't need anymore is left on the table, blowtorch, all that other stuff. Kind of nice little attention to detail. So, anyway, yeah, we gotta go grab outfits and stuff like that. Coat. And mannequin standee for outfits. Let's see, hair. Coonskin, or the deerstalk cap that's supposed to be famous to Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I reread the short stories not too long ago, and I remember him only describing that cap like when he actually went out in cold weather, if I remember correctly. It wasn't like a regular outfit for him.
A wig! This will come in handy.
I mean, we already got a wig, but I don't know why that one was the one that stood out, but okay. Another wig. All the wigs. I think that might be it.
We shall place our mannequins here, Watson.
Let's grab some coats now. Gray coat. Gray ear coat. Another mannequin. I don't know why Watson has a mannequin in his room. Oh yeah, I guess to keep his coat nice, but you could just put it on a hanger, so I guess that's it. Okay. Okay, so now we just need to put everything together.
So, as for one of the murders, we have no witnesses whatsoever. As for the three other, we have at least one person who claims to have seen the victims talking to a man a few minutes before their death. Do you remember whom these would be, Watson?
Okay, so now we just need to go over descriptions for all the characters. So, alright, so first guy was, I think he was like 30 or something like that. Let's see, we also have to put in the descriptions on everyone, so, okay. I think it was Abraham or said. Let's see, I think the first one was Abraham. Specifically mentioned height in his description when he said what they saw him at. So 30, and then he was about 5'3", I believe is what he said.
Indeed, Watson, that's the right size for Abraham's mannequin. The account given by Mr. Solomonovich's friend is incorrect in at least one point. The first Joseph said that the man was at least 5'7" tall. The second Joseph said he was 3 inches taller than the victim, whom we know was 5 feet tall, which would suggest a height of 5'3". Don't forget that it was this second Joseph who attracted his friend's attention towards the couple on the other side of the road. We can assume he got a very good look at them.
Okay, now we need to put the outfit on him. So we need to put I think it's the jacket, and then we need to put the, let's see, blonde wig, I believe. Oh, I guess, oh, I'm missing a cap, because it's supposed to be a gray cap we're supposed to have around here. I must have, hold on, let me back up. Must have missed it. Let me go double check where that one is. Let's see, let me go over. Yeah. Where are you, Mr. Cap? I thought I grabbed everything. Oh, maybe it's in here. There it is. Okay, now we can match this. Wait, how did my blonde wig go from that? Hold on. Hold on. There we go. Wait. I guess that must be the issue with the the PC version of the game. Okay, wait, I need to put the gray cap on him. Okay, so that's the first guy.
Perfect, Watson.
Yeah, sorry, I meant to put on the workers, not the costume. So, anyway. Yeah, it's usually, he'll say something very specific. Okay, so for this guy... Oops. I believe it's supposed to be the constable here. Yeah, he describes, yeah, his age here, so... Okay, so... 20, I think he said it was like 26 or something like that. 26, and then I think he said it was like 5'8" or something. And then gray jacket with vest, and then I think he had a brown wig or something. And then a brown hat.
Excellent. Now, on to the next step.
Okay, and then the final one is, let's see, where... Should be the testimony of Elon. Let's see. Where is that one? Well, let's we'll set up the outfit first. Oh, yeah, the color scheme's changing again. Yeah, unfortunately, this version of the game just seems to be super buggy. Yeah, we'll set up everything first, and then we'll see deerstalker. Oh wait, let me put the actual brown wig. And then he's supposed to be like 40. Oops. Let's see, 5'3" and 40. Let's see, where are... There it is. Yeah, this one also had the date too, so...
Bravo, Watson. There are our 3 witnesses. As for young PC Smith's account, he must have been mistaken about this person's real height. It is only an inch or 2 after all, and we can attribute the same height as the other 2. Perfect, Watson.
There we go. So that one's good. So now we have to do some readjustments to, I thought I already...
As for young PC Smith's account, he must have been mistaken about this person's real height. It is only an inch or 2 after all, and we can attribute the same height as the other 2.
Yeah, so I need to change that back to 5'3" now.
Bravo, Watson. Our mannequins have been recreated based on the correct accounts. Now, Watson, let's see in what ways these statements differ and how the witnesses could have been mistaken. Let's look at these wigs and moustaches. Let's start by taking the first Joseph's testimony, who saw the man head-on in a well-lit spot and in which he noted fair hair. Now, let's consider the same person, but in the lighting and angle of the other 2 witnesses, in the darkness of night with poor artificial lighting from above. Put out the light, Watson.
There we go. Flip it to switch.
Thus, poor lighting and a backlit subject can affect our perception of shades and colours. The wigs from Abraham's mannequin took on the same colour as the other two. The three testimonies, therefore, don't contradict one another, and we can apply the same facial hair to all three mannequins. Turn on the light, Watson.
I can't believe we can't just auto do it, but okay.
Okay, Watson, let's give all of our mannequins the same hair.
Okay, blonde hair for everyone.
Yes, I have, Holmes.
Well done, Watson. With regards to the murderer's hair, the three witnesses should agree on Abraham's testimony. As Joseph is the only one who saw our man in full light, his hair must therefore be fair. You see, Watson, it is hard to draw objective conclusions when one is an eyewitness to an event. This leads us to reconsider the various statements regarding the supposed age of the man. Even if you are face to face with someone in full light and for a period of several hours, to what extent can you determine their exact age? And even more so if you observe them for only a few seconds and or from behind. We must allow some flexibility when considering our witnesses' statements, but always scientific flexibility.
Alright.
Now that we have fully considered the witness accounts,
Okay, so now we need to figure out some of the variations in tolerance between the 2 years, so we need to just adjust it as such because of the yeah, it says like either 3 to 5 years or variations of that, so.
perfect, Watson.
Alright, so the next one is a little bit, and this is supposed to give you a gist of like, this top one is supposed to give you a gist of where the numbers should generally be in terms of modifying it, so. That's pretty much all you have to do, is just slightly change the variation. It's nothing really that complicated. It could take a while to figure out, but you have to base it off of his parameters. And it does automatically
Perfect, Watson.
it does automatically color when you do it, so at least there's that. So if you don't know what you're doing, you could at least just keep kind of messing with it until it does something. Alright, let's see, that one. I don't know if you have to do it in this specific order. I think you kind of do because consequential order or whatever, so. Whoops, wrong way.
There we are. Magnificent.
Yes, I have, Holmes.
Now that we have fully considered the witness accounts, let's see to what extent they agree. If we apply the range of error for each of our dummies, we can deduce the age of our murderer as precisely as possible.
So, well, if we're looking at all the numbers here, it's got to be 33.
Perfect, Watson. Within a margin of 1 year, Watson, the age of our murderer is 33 years.
But the man described by Smith was dressed respectably, whereas the other two were poorly dressed.
Indeed, but Whitechapel's respectively could quite easily describe the Sunday bests that all lower-class men own. Now, let's place ourselves in the shoes of Liz Stride's killer. He has just slain his victim and sees Louis Diemschutz discover her body. Our killer is at great risk if he stays in the area. He therefore gets away from this spot. But he wants to kill again. However, he might have been spotted in the area before having committed the murder by a constable on his round, perhaps, who managed to get his description. What do you think the killer will do?
Okay, so we basically have to figure out their thought process. So, find an accomplice to flee and by disguise and wait a while on premise and throw his clothes in a sewer trash and bin and return home or a safe location and enter a pub and. Or, nothing is not he who committed the second murder. Look for a victim, commit the second murder in his place. Wait a moment before searching for another victim. Change and go look for another victim. Escape without being recognized and as quickly as possible. So, well, obviously you'd want to return home or at least find a safe location. And then the other one is to change clothes. So,
go back home or to a safe location, change his clothes and leave again in search of another victim.
It's the only possible explanation, Watson. The man returned to the safety of his lodgings and then decided to go out again with new clothes and repeat his sinister nocturnal work. That's how the discrepancies between the witnesses with regards to clothing can be explained.
What a cold-blooded animal.
And what determination! Powerful motives are pushing this man. Thus, we can conclude that the respectable man with the package may very well have been seen by the two Josephs.
Even if it is just a mannequin, it's giving me goosebumps. But have we really made any progress, Holmes? I mean, there must be thousands of men in Whitechapel who match this description, wouldn't you say?
You're right, Watson. We have worked on who, now let's work on where. We need a map of Whitechapel, and please also find me a pencil, 2 compasses, one of which can draw ellipses.
Really? You want me to just be... I mean, I know previous games did this too, but it's almost asinine sometimes.
We'll need a map, Watson.
Alright, let's find this stuff. Well, let's give us something to distract ourselves for 5 seconds.
I am in need of something.
Well, the compass and everything, so...
First of all, let's place our 4 murders on this map, as well as the spot where the graffito appeared, and the piece of apron was dropped.
Okay, so we need to set up where everyone's at, so... Let's see, Annie Chapman... Where's Hanbury Street? There it is. Okay, so she goes there. That's where she was killed. Where's Elizabeth? Elizabeth Stride. She's in Dutfield, wherever. Where's that one again? There's Dutfield. Let's see. Marianne Nichols. Or Polly. Was Bucks Row. There. And I think the pictures are there, the actual pictures of the actual women when they died, too, which is a little creepy, or at least a moniker of them anyway, so. Let's see. Catherine was Mite Square. And then Gaffito was in Goulston Street.
Perfect, Watson. Let's connect each crime scene to the one out of the others that is the furthest.
Alright, now we just need to connect the dots. Connect the dots. La, la, la.
You see, Watson, the murders aren't grouped together, but seem to be spread out like cardinal points around a central zone. The killer obviously wanted to avoid returning to the previous scenes of his crimes, assuming that they would be more closely watched, or that he could be recognized.
So, the killer lives at the center of this cross?
In the vicinity, most certainly, but how near? We cannot afford to get it wrong. If you concentrate, Watson, you will notice that the murders are roughly equidistant from the intersection point of the diagonals. Let's focus on the night of the double murder. Remember, Watson, it took us 20 minutes to get from Dutfield's Yard to Mitre Square. Let's draw a line from one to the other.
Alright, so... Alright, now we need to figure out... Let's see... Oh, I don't need to... Oops, didn't mean to do that. I reset that really quick, so... where are you? Okay, Yeah, and you can just like erase stuff away and all that, so...
Perfect. We didn't make the trip as the crow flies, but that would not harm our estimate. Let's suppose the killer left Dutfield's Yard at 1 a.m. and arrived in Mitre Square at 1:35 a.m. when he was seen by the two Josephs. If he took 5 minutes to change his clothes, that leaves a range of 10 minutes to determine where this man's lodgings are. We must determine the area in which one can go from Dutfield's Yard to Mitre Square in less than half an hour. To do this, let's draw an ellipsis. The length between Dutfield's Yard and Mitre Square corresponds to 20 minutes. By adding half, we get a distance of 30 minutes. By taking the two right segments, each starting from the two murder scenes, and which the sum of the lengths makes 30 minutes, we get our ellipsis.
Okay, so we need to draw ellipses from... Whoops. Didn't mean to do that. Reset that. Alright, so we need to click it like kind of in the middle here.
There we are, Watson. Our killer lives in this area.
It's still rather a vast area, Holmes.
Yes, indeed. And our goal is to reduce this area as much as we can. We must consider the fact that the murder at Mitre Square was committed under a certain amount of pressure, given that the killer knew he was wanted for the acts he committed not long before. We can assume that he had to do it in a safe zone, that is, an area not far from where he lives. This is especially true of an act such as the graffiti he carried out after 2 murders. Let's trace a circle around this point, with the distance separating it from Mitre Square as the radius. This will enable us to determine our killer's safe zone.
Alright, so we want to do it here. Oh, I thought... Oops. Let me reset that.
Our killer must surely live inside this circle. Now, let's intersect it with the ellipsis that we previously determined. There we are, Watson, the Aldgate district.
Shouldn't we inform the police so that they can concentrate their efforts on this area of Whitechapel?
It is probably already crawling with inspectors, Watson, and I doubt that they would take us seriously, even if they were willing to listen to what we had to say. Let's focus instead on understanding the killer's modus operandi. We know our murderer preys on prostitutes who are penniless, weak, sick, or alcoholic, that he distracts them the moment before killing them, and that he left an anonymous message inciting anti-Semitic hatred at the entrance of a building occupied by Jews. How would you describe this man?
What a coward!
Indeed, he is a person of great cowardice. Let's look at his murders, and in particular, the depredations on the corpses, putting aside that of Liz Stride, because on that occasion his work was left unfinished. If we recall the observations made on the victims and the parts that were mutilated or damaged on each of the bodies, without forgetting the fact that he also removed one or more organs, we can ascertain that our killer evolves during the course of the murders, cowardly and still evolving. And yet, look at the location of our first murder, that of Polly Nichols in Bucks Row. It is the most distant from the area our killer would appear to live. Perhaps this murder was preceded by another within the killer's area. I believe a cowardly killer would commit his first murder in an area close to his home, in order to find refuge as quickly as possible on carrying out the act.
Holmes, an idea just occurred to me that fills me with dread. This evolution of which you speak...
He will pursue his next victim as long as the conditions permit him to continue killing Watson.
But how could one go even further in this horror? Look at what he did to that woman, Catherine Eddowes.
In order to avoid having to answer that question, we must act with haste and planning. Watson, I suggest you inform yourself on the mutilations sustained by the victims. We played with the idea that this could be an act of vengeance against prostitutes. If the mutilations correspond to areas affected by a specific pathology, perhaps the killer wanted to give an eye for an affliction he felt the prostitutes he knew were responsible for.
And this trail leading to Dr. Tumblety, Holmes?
I also have a few things to look into in the meantime. I still have a primary witness to track down, not to mention old trails I've yet to pursue. See you soon, Watson. When we first spoke about the Bucks Row murder with Watson, he was reading a newspaper, The Star, dated September 1st, 1888, I believe, which mentioned similar murders in the preceding months. I have no chance of finding the police reports, but perhaps I could find some information at the Central News Agency. I must go there at once. Afterwards, I'll go back to see Abraham, the owner of the pet shop in Whitechapel. The second Joseph's statement would lead me to believe that he may know the man spotted on the corner of Church Passage that night. If that's the case, I must find this witness so I can question him.
Alright, now we need to go back to some old leads and see. Alright, so we need to go back to the Central News Agency. So.
Ah, Bulling is there. It won't hurt just this once.
I wonder if there's anything else to. At least it's light out, sort of, so it's not all scary.
Closed.
He always acts so excited when it's closed, or so. It's like, closed! Alright, nothing else, I was just checking.
Hello, Mr. Bulling. So, did your colleague tell you about the tip?
What tip?
Ah, I see. I gave him an explosive tip and he went without you? Oh, that's not very sporting on his part. No doubt he took all of the credit for his discovery.
You're winding me up, eh?
I must show Bulling something to make him believe me.
Alright, so. Alright, we'll just show him the IOU. Because that's the only thing on our inventory, so. You can show him the matches.
What do you want?
You got a debt to pay.
I'm not winding you up. The proof is that he gave me this advance on the debt.
The traitor! He owes me if I find him.
Before I leave, can you do me a favor?
Heck, tell me.
I'm looking for some reliable info on the murders committed in Whitechapel in the months before Polly Nichols' attack.
Reliable? Ha! You really think you'll find that here? Fine. I'll be honest with you. We have folders that group the dispatches from the current year into categories. In the police law category, you'll find the transcripts from the trials and investigations that we sell to the newspapers that ask us.
Perfect.
Sadly, I am out of time. I'll leave you to solve it, eh? You're the detective, aren't you?
Everyone in this game just doesn't want to work with us, but that's for story purposes, so we can actually do mysteries or solve the situation or whatever. I was just taking a look at the pictures. I didn't really do that before. Yeah, some of these are interesting pictures. Huh. Anyway.
The dossiers are full of papers in dated envelopes. I can't open them. That would be too obvious. How can I tell which compartment to look in? No categories are indicated.
Okay, so you can interact with these. There's society, personalities, weather, culture, news and briefing, front page, economy, invention and scientists, politics, sports, world, and police and law.
An envelope is torn. I can tell that this dispatch contains economic information.
Okay, so we got economic stuff there. Let's see. I thought there was another interaction here. Okay, well anyway, we're supposed to look around in the office for stuff, so.
An envelope is torn. This compartment was repaired recently.
Okay, that's what I need to know. Okay, so let's close that out. So we need to look around the office for some stuff. Dear Fernand, I am confirming my presence on Friday evening at the club. It will be with pleasure because I must get my mind off things or risk falling into a black depression. Just imagine, the news laddie still has the favors of that of Janet, but she'll end up forgetting him and giving in to me because I am not lacking in ideas to get rid of her suitors. Yesterday I randomly placed a few inventions and science without politics dispatches. After all, they are always harebrained items. Given that the compartments are on top of the other, it should have been easily passed as one of the new lad errors, and as anticipated, he was called in by the boss. As soon as I have the chance, I'll show him how, like in the news, everything's in balance. He looks like a half-wit. He could easily confuse the politics with the society section on his right, and this latter with economy, which in its neighbor. What a lovely mess. I don't know how an intelligent girl like Janet can like a swat like him, but he doesn't have much longer to smile. So that's a clue. Let's see, anything else in the... No. Sir, as the agency receives numerous dispatches, the filing system that you made appears to be too small, particularly for the world and society sections, which cover too much area and overflow into the boxes below, police, law, and culture, respectively. Would you be able to furnish a device in order to keep only one filing cabinet? While still awaiting your response, sir, please accept our best wishes. The Assistant Director. Stephen and Psy Enterprises. Bill, repair the wood on the news and briefs compartment, £1. Payment received July 12th, 1888. So this is supposed to give us a clue on how the section is organized. To improve the dispatch filing, propose major info up high, except news and brief minors, info down low, except police and law. Thus, in future, propose also to invert news and briefing, which is for the moment up high, and police law, which is actually down low. Furthermore, the weather section is almost always empty. Put it with the news and brief. My dear George, your little brother has had some misfortune. My first week of work was very grueling. First, I was given a spot far from the stove, and I am very cold in the morning. Next, I have to sort through the dispatches, the most tedious and boring work imaginable. Once the work is done, I must take each envelope to the journalist in question, who won't even deign to look at me. Finally, at the end of my third day, the boss called me to his office to give me a sermon. It seems I had mixed up the dispatches. I was so worn out that I could only protest half-heartedly. He gave me a second chance. So now I'm in a sticky situation. The only helpful note comes from my colleague, Miss Filden, a charming young woman who is only one to give me a smile. She helps me as much as she can and tries to prompt me regarding which compartment I should put my dispatches, because everyone who knows the order of the sections, but no one has bothered to tell me. The lady has so much compassion and slides me notes such as politics and society are on the side, sports is underneath economy, personalities is at the end of the row, front page news is the first compartment, etc. And these confidences are almost words of love from her mouth. I don't think that she likes placing the envelopes on the desk at all, because she ends up with some thanks that are very disturbing. I volunteered for the task, much to everyone's displeasure. Nothing new concerning my landlady, but I managed to pay her back for the week, and she consented to keep me. Don't say anything about my troubles to Mumsy. I don't want to alarm her, but not wanting to lie to her, I've chosen to not write. With warm regards, your brother Albert. Lovely. This place is just a, smorgasbord of like messed up dispatches and notes and everything. I think that's it. But yeah, that's basically just supposed to be clues on how to proceed with this part. So yeah, I think that's it. So now we can take these. We're supposed to basically move these around until we can figure everything out. Actually, no, hold on. I think I'm actually missing one more note. Hold on. I think you need all these notes. Yeah, there's one. Almost forgot about that one. Attention, the blue envelopes from the dispatch compartment contain confidential facts, but must not be discussed in the news. As a reminder, they contain the political personalities, essentially the royal family, and economic issues. This dispatches will be retained only to diffuse when Buckingham Palace or the minister gave us the authority. Ah.
Closed.
Closed. Alright, maybe I'm done now. I think that was the last one.
I have no reason to go that way.
I have no reason to leave. We haven't done the puzzle yet. Okay. Let me check the trash bins just to make sure I didn't miss anything there. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, now we can go through that. So, all right. So now we just need to figure it all out. So, okay. So from everything that we've seen here, let's see. World should be right there. Politics here, third from the left. Front page. Well, let's just go top row is front page, world, politics, society, economy, and then news and brief oddities on the end, and then the second row is personalities, police and law, inventions and science, culture, sports, and weather, because that's the smallest. So. And there's what we want right there.
These envelopes contain dispatches of police and judicial cases. Now, I need to open them discreetly. I must try to unglue the openings.
Alright, now we need to put them next to the stove, I believe.
These envelopes contain dispatches of police and judicial cases. I need something.
Alright, we need the matches.
I need something.
Okay, now we can...
I need something. These envelopes contain dispatches of...
Oh, let's see. Oh, I need a teapot. Where's the tea? There it is. Yeah, we need... I thought that was putting on at the same time.
I need something.
Oh, right, water. Where's the... Because it's an empty teapot. So, where is the water? Oh, is that it?
Water.
Okay.
I need something.
Let's see.
These envelopes contain dispatches. I need something.
Oh, maybe I'm supposed to put it on it. Yeah? Let's see. Let's see, find the watering can, and then fill it up. Yeah, we opened up the fire, so... I should be...
I need something.
Maybe I need to put it on the other side or something?
There, that will provide me with steam.
Okay, I don't know why I didn't do that before, but whatever. Okay, should have to wait a second. Okay, there we go.
I need something. Open, and it looks like I'm in luck. This envelope contains precious information.
Testimony in the Smith affair. Day of inquest, Saturday, April 7th, 1888. Mr. Wynne E. Baxter, the East Middlesex coroner, held an inquiry on Saturday, April 7th, at the London hospital respecting the death of Emma Elizabeth Smith, aged 45, a widow, lately living at 18 George Street, Spitalfields, who, it was alleged, has been murdered. Chief Inspector West of the H Division of the police attended for the commissions of police. Miss Mary Russell, deputy keeper of a common lodging house, stated that she had known the deceased for about 2 years. On the evening of the bank holiday, 2nd of April, she left home at 7 o'clock and returned about 4 or 5 the next morning in a dreadful state. Her face and head were much injured, one of her ears being nearly torn off. She told the witness that she had been set up upon and robbed of all her money, and witnesses took her to the hospital, and when passing along Osborne Street, the deceased pointed out the spot where she was assaulted. She said there were 3 men, but she could not describe them. Miss George Haslip, house surgeon, stated that when the deceased was admitted to the hospital, she had been drinking but was not intoxicated. She was bleeding from the head and ear and had other injuries of a revolting nature. Witnesses found that she was suffering from rupture of the peritoneum, which had been perforated by some blunt instrument used with great force. The deceased told him that at 1:30 that morning she was passing near Whitechapel Church when she noticed some men coming towards her. She crossed the road to avoid them, but they followed, assaulting her, took all the money she had, and then committed the outrage. She was unable to say what kind of instrument was used, nor could she describe her assailants, except that she had said that one was a youth of 19. Death ensued on Wednesday morning, April 4th, through peritonitis, set up by the injuries. Margaret Hayes, living at the same address of the deceased, disposed to seeing Miss Smith in company with a man at the corner of Ferret Street and Burdett Road. The man was dressed in a dark suit and wore a white silk handkerchief around his neck. He was of medium height, but witness did not think he could identify him. Chief Inspector West, H Division, stated that he had no official information on the subject and was only aware of the case through the daily papers. He had questioned the constables on the beat, but none of them appeared to know anything about the matter. The coroner said that from the medical evidence, which must be true, it was clear that the woman had been barbarously murdered. It was impossible to imagine a more brutal and dastardly assault, and he thought the end of justice would be better met by the jury recording their verdict at once, then by adjourning to some future date in the hope of having more evidence brought before them. The jury returned a verdict of willful murder against some person or persons unknown. The police are making every possible inquiry into the case, but up to yesterday, April 8th, had not any clue to the person who committed the outrage. Testimony of the Tabram case. Last date of inquest, Thursday, August 23rd, 1888. Yesterday afternoon, August 23rd, Mr. George Collier, the deputy coroner for Southeast Middlesex, resumed the inquiry at the Working Lads Institute, Whitechapel, into the circumstances attending the death of Martha Turner, or Tabram, a hawker, lately living at 4 Star Place, Star Street, Commercial Road E, who was discovered early in the mornings of Tuesday, the 7th install, lying dead on the first floor landing of some model dwellings known as the George Yard Buildings, Commercial Street, Spitalfields. When found, the woman presented a shocking appearance. There had been 39 stab wounds on the body, some of them apparently having been inflicted with a bayonet. Alfred George Crow, cab driver 35, George Yard Buildings, deposed that he got home at 3:30 on Thursday morning. As he was passing the first floor landing, he saw a body lying on the ground. He took no notice, as he was accustomed to seeing people lying about there. He did not know whether the person was alive or dead. He got up at 9:30, and when he went down the staircase, the body was not there. Witnesses heard no noise while he was in bed. Police Constable Thomas Barrett, 226H, said that the last witness called his attention to the body of the deceased. He sent for a doctor who pronounced life extinct. Dr. T.R. Kylene, of 68, Brick Lane, said that he was called to the deceased and found her dead. She had 39 stabs on the body, had been dead for some 3 hours. Her age was about 36, and the body was very well nourished. Witnesses, as said, made a post-mortem examination of the body. The left lung was penetrated in 5 places, and the right lung was penetrated in 2 places. The heart was penetrated in 1 place, and that would be sufficient to cause death. The liver was penetrated in 5 places, the spleen was penetrated in 2 places, and the stomach was penetrated in 6 places. The witness did not think all the wounds were inflicted with the same instrument. The wound generally might have been inflicted by a knife, but such an instrument would not have inflicted one of the wounds, which went through the chest bone. His opinion was that one of the wounds was inflicted by some kind of dagger, that all of them were caused during life. Henry Samuel Tabram, 6, River Terrace, East Greenwich, husband of the deceased woman, said he last saw her alive about 18 months ago in the Whitechapel Road. They had been separated for 13 years, owing to her drinking habits. She obtained a warrant against him. For some part of the time, witnesses allowed her 12s a week. I forgot if that's quit or whatever. Anyway, but in the consequences of annoyance, he stopped this allowance 10 years ago, since which time he had made it half a crown a week, as he had found she was living with a man. Henry Turner, a carpenter, staying at the Working Men's Home, Commercial Street, Spitalfields, stated they had been living with the woman, Tabram, as his wife for about 9 years. 2 or 3 weeks previously to this occurrence, he ceased to do so. He had left her on 2 or 3 occasions on consequences of her drinking habits, but they had come together again. He last saw her alive on Saturday, the 4th institution, in Leadenhall Street. He then gave her 1s 6d to get some stock. When she had money, she spent it on drink. While living with witnesses, deceased's usually time for coming home was about 11 o'clock. As far as he knew, she had no regular companion. He did not know that she walked the streets. As a rule, he said, a man of sober habits, and when the deceased was sober, they usually got on well together. The power of alcohol, man. Miss Mary Boostfield, wife of woodcutter residing at 4 Star Place, Commercial Road, knew the deceased by the name of Turner. She was formerly a lodger in her house with the man Turner. Deceased would rather have a glass of ale than a cup of tea, but she was not a woman who got continually drunk, and she never brought home any companions with her. She left without giving notice and owed 2 weeks' rent. Mary Ann Connolly, Pearly Pole, who, at the suggestion of Inspector Reed, was cautioned in the usual manner before being sworn, stated she had been for the last 2 nights living at a lodging house in Dorset Street, Spitalfields. Witness was a single woman. She had known the woman Tabrans for about 4 or 5 months. She knew her by the name of Emma. She last saw her alive on Bank Holiday night. When Witnesses was with her about 3/4 of an hour, they separated at 11:45. Witness was with Tabrams and 2 soldiers, 1 private and 1 corporal. She did not know that regiment that belonged to, but they had white bands around their caps. After they separated, Tabrams went away with a private and Witness and accompanied the corporal up Angel Alley. There was no quarreling between them. Witnesses had been to the barracks to identify the soldiers, and the 2 men she picked out were, to the best of her belief, the men she and Tabram were with. The men at the Wellington Barracks were paraded before Witnesses. One of the men picked out by the witness turned out not to be a corporal, but he had stripes on his arm. Detective Inspector Reed made a statement of the efforts made by the police to discover the perpetrator of the murder. Several persons had stated that they saw the deceased woman on the previous Sunday with a corporal, but when all the corporals and privates at the Tower and the Wellington Barracks were paraded before them, they failed to identify the man. The military authorities afforded every facility to the police. Pearly Pole picked out 2 men belonging to the Coldstream, guards at the Wellington Barracks. One of the men had 3 good conduct stripes, and he was proved beyond doubt to have been with his wife from 8 o'clock on the Monday night until 6 o'clock the following morning. The other men were also proved to have been at barracks at 5 minutes past 10 on bank holiday night. The police would have been pleased if anyone would give them information of having seen anyone with the deceased on the night of bank holiday. The coroner, in summing up, said that the crime was one of the most brutal they had occurred for some years. For a poor defenseless woman to be outraged and stabbed in the manner with which this woman had been was almost beyond belief. They could only come to one conclusion, and that was that the deceased was brutally and cruelly murdered. The jury returned a verdict of willful murder against some person or persons unknown.
The information excludes the murder of the first woman, Miss Smith. Jack the Ripper can't be the author of that crime. On the other hand, there are enough similarities to suggest he may be the killer of Martha Tabram. I must go to the pet shop.
Alright, let's go to the pet shop and figure this thing out, so...
I must go to the pet shop.
Yes, I'm here.
Closed until further notice. Abraham isn't there. No luck.
Beep beep.
Good evening.
Oh, good evening, sir.
Yeah, I seem to see you everywhere.
Do you know why Mr. Solomonovich's shop is closed?
No, I don't. Perhaps his cousin, the cobbler, knows. But I believe the police came to take his animals. I think that might have something to do with it.
When was this?
During the day. The kids you were with the other day were there, they told me. They just came by to ask for some cat's meat. They didn't have any money, but I gave them some anyway. Ah.
Now, what's wrong now, man?
Is something wrong?
It's just that there was a little girl with them, the same age as mine. My little girl who went away with her mother, with the angels into the sky.
Dr. Watson told me about your loss. Please accept my condolences. Would you like to talk about it? How did it happen?
The illness, sir. My poor little girl was in agony, and her face and body were ravaged by the disease.
Her face?
Yes, she looked like a ghost.
No, syphilis or whatever?
What illness was it?
Dr. Gibbons tried to explain when I took my little girl to see him, but I didn't understand. I'm sure that he was trying to insinuate it was my fault. I'm sorry, but I don't want to talk about it anymore.
I understand. Farewell. Let's go and see Dr. Gibbons.
So if she had syphilis, like, how'd she get that? Well, I've heard you can get it from your parents or whatever. Well, let's just say that could have bad implications because, you know. Where is the... There it is.
Let's go and see Dr. Gibbons.
Back to here. Do we have new people inside? Can't talk to them, but hey, at least this place actually gets filled up every once in a while. Probably could be vagabonds just trying to sleep for a minute. Anyway.
Hello, Doctor. Do you remember me? I'm Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Watson's friend.
Oh, yes. Excuse the mess, but I am doing a bit of tidying.
Sorry, we won't take your time.
I have come to see you about a Mr. Hardyman, a cat food seller by trade who recently lost his daughter and wife.
Yes, I know him. A tragic story.
Actually, I was hoping you could tell me about the disease that took his daughter, a disease that would have attacked her face.
Well, to keep it short, we are speaking of syphilis, Mr. Holmes. You must certainly know that it is transmitted through intimate connections and that the vast prostitute population here contributes to its inevitable progression. It destroys individuals by spreading through the body slowly. The most obvious symptoms can be found in the genitalia and on the face in the form of pustules or lesions. Sometimes this illness can destroy whole families. The father catches it from a prostitute, he transmits it to his wife, who in her turn passes it to the kids which she bears or nurses. These cases are numerous in the vicinity. Certain children, and this is the case of the little girl whom I won't name, suffer from an emaciation of the face which will, apart from predicting an imminent death, bring infamy upon the family.
Ugh, terrible. So why you just don't sleep with anyone you want to, viewers, without protection?
Emaciation of the face?
Yes, what we sometimes call the pox. I will give you a photograph. One cannot be mistaken on the origin of such a face. The eyes seem to be void of lids, the nose is inexistent as if it was cut off, and the cheeks are chiselled as if cut with a knife. This loss of facial matter, this emaciation, is in this area often the gift from a father to his children.
Can I keep this photograph?
I should destroy it, but if it can remind you that one must sometimes think twice before giving in to physical attraction.
I always seem to find myself alone in such cases. Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah, and the Sherlock Holmes, like the only time he ever talks about a woman in like a positive light, like not even an attraction per se, but is Irene Adler, which weirdly enough, that's like one of the earliest stories. I think that's like the third or fourth short story he wrote or something like that. But yeah, she's the only woman they actually kind of talked semi-fondly for. But yeah, Sherlock Holmes usually stayed away from female entanglements and stuff like that. So yeah, syphilis, man, it's a terrible disease. Look at that. Whew. Would not want to get that.
Let's go to the cobbler's.
All right, let's see. But now that we've kind of seen about that, yeah, stop staring at me, lady. Or, well, actually, I guess it's supposed to be a girl.
Let's go to the cobbler's.
Anyway. Back to work, I see.
Hello, Mr. Solomonovich.
Ah, Mr. Holmes, how are things with you?
Well, I guess okay.
I heard your cousin Abraham had a problem with his shop. What happened?
Ah, if I didn't know you well, I would tell you that it's Jewish business that doesn't concern anyone but the Jews. But as you have a little bit to do with it, you have the right to know what is going on.
Ah, would I have something to do with it?
Someone had seen Abraham telling you something and making big gestures near the Imperial Club. A vicious rumor quickly spread, and it has caused him great injustice. A slanderous denunciation attracted the authorities' attention to my cousin's shop. Abraham must be in the process of answering their questions.
I did, indeed, speak with your cousin the other night. I'm shocked at the consequences of this discussion.
As I was saying, it's the story of the Jews. In the face of adversity, we are united, but amongst ourselves, it's like anywhere else. As soon as our people take a dislike to someone, for right or wrong, we can be without pity and quite cruel.
You could say that for a lot of societies and groups together, though, but...
This is all very worrying. Your cousin knows one, or rather two, of the men who were at the Imperial Club on the night of the Mitre Square murder. One of the two, a butcher in Aldgate named Joseph, is probably withholding information of the utmost importance. I must find this man. Perhaps you can help me.
But there are dozens of Jewish butchers around Aldgate, half of which must be called Joseph. And you know, Mr. Holmes, we Jews prefer to remain in the background of this murderer business, this Jack the Ripper thing. All of London is pointing their fingers at us saying, it's a Jew who disemboweled these women. Our community is in great peril, you know. There was the business with Lipsky and Leather Apron. I will see what I can do, but I don't promise anything.
I'd be extremely grateful to you.
Yeah, during the murders, there was a heavy emphasis on possibly the Jewish community hiding the killer during that. So this is part of like historical context here.
Very well. We may meet again, Mr. Solomonovich.
You are most welcome, Mr. Holmes.
I've paced up and down Whitechapel enough. I should return to Baker Street in order to reflect on the new facts that I have discovered.
Oh, quite a few facts, to be sure.
Hello, Holmes.
Good day, Watson.
Listen, Holmes, I know I should have got here sooner to give you a report on my research, but this case has led me to neglect my patients and my wife more than I care to admit. I've been able to sort things out over the last few days, and now I am ready to pursue this investigation.
You don't have to justify yourself, Watson. Whilst I do tolerate you as an observer, and despite your occasional help with more menial tasks, may I remind you that you are by no means an indispensable part of this case.
Oh, you tolerate me as an observer, do you? Oh, you're too much, Holmes. Well, Mr. Detective, despite my absence, I have been working on this case, putting my relationship on the line in the process. And I happen to have a confidential letter that only passed from one lord's hand to another. What it contains is extremely serious, and concerns Dr. Tumblety and his collection of uteri.
Let me see that.
Now you want to see his note now that he actually got it for you. Holmes can be like that in the books. Usually he actually does like a Watson overall, just as a guy to jump ideas off of. But yeah, sometimes he can be kind of callous in his attitude. My lord, be hereby assured of my entire collaboration in the affair to which I must reply. No one must be able to cast opprobrium on our institution or ourselves. Our eminent colleagues support our policies, and they won't cooperate with the police as long as the high interests that we serve aren't menaced. As you mentioned, we must avoid having to explain to the uncultured masses the exigencies of medical research. A general crisis of confidence will result in inevitable amalgamation that the press would hasten to create between this and the heinous murders committed in the East End. To this end, I tactfully evoked the rumor that you mentioned in your letter. When I met with my colleagues, it turns out to be of grounds, and these are the specifics that I was able to obtain. 18 months hence, an American doctor in London did in fact contact certain hospitals. His approach was aimed at getting stocks of feminine genitalia, particularly uteri. He was motivated, initially, by finalization of his research and his publication. The doctor in question wanted to include a uterus specimen, freshly conserved in formalin, with each of the research dissertations sent to each of the colleagues involved. A large quantity was thus necessary, and the doctor proposed to buy each of the uteri for £20 each. The hospital director did not pay heed to these demands, of that I have been assured. Between you and I, my lord, who knows what strange consequences would have followed these demands of the American doctor? The rumor of these unusual commissions made the tour of the hospitals in question at the time and has spread to others since. Simply day laborers employed in our organizations consider that the gain of £20 could justify a theft, perhaps worse. The identity of the doctor is unknown to me, but based on the recall of one of my colleagues, this man had the most impressive references. But after a bit of research that I didn't find the existence of any publication with an eventual correlation on this or any side of the Atlantic. The man left London shortly after his pitch, it would seem. I could not help but think that he was perhaps returned to London and has found someone who might furnish him with what he's looking for.
Excellent. This American could turn out to be of great use to use.
That's right, and that's not all. I did some research and finally found an illness that affects the genitalia and can, in certain cases, cause facial symptoms resembling the mutilations seen on the last victim. It is called, would you believe?
Syphilis and the emaciation that can be seen in affected children. I have known that for days, Watson.
Really?
Listen, now you're already here, Watson, we may as well continue the investigation. Do you remember the map on which we established the area in which our killer lives? I think we should continue our study.
Well, Okay, so now we've got we got more information on this Dr. Tumblety.
We must place the murder of Martha Tabram in George Yard on the map.
Alright, let's go to the map then.
Well, I discovered the case of another murder before that of Bucks Row. It happened in George Yard. We shall put it on the map in order to see if it corresponds to our area of research. We must place the murder of Martha Tabram in George Yard on the map.
Alright, so which is right here.
That is where Martha Tabram's murder took place. There's no point going there. I already have all the information we need on that matter. You see, this murder took place in the area in which our killer lives, his safe zone. Nonetheless, there are two major differences between the murder of this Martha Tabram and that of Polly Nichols. Firstly, the blows inflicted are not the same.
And the second difference?
It follows on from a doctor's opinion. He claims two weapons might have been used, and if there is one group of people we absolutely must not trust in this business, it's doctors. Don't you agree, Watson?
Watch it, Holmes.
Tabram's murder took place in an area where the murderer, whose cowardice is clear, was able to make a quick getaway, that is to say, near his home. For his second murder, he would have wanted to go further afield, so the police would not link these two cases. And as for the other murders, seeing the ineffectiveness of his last one, he headed in different directions to kill his victims while still staying in the vicinity and without going any further than necessary, and all the while planning his escape. My dear Watson, we now know what this man looks like, in what area he lives, and that he suffered directly or indirectly from syphilis. Let's not forget the anatomical knowledge he must almost certainly possess. Given his lower class background, a butcher seems very likely. However, it may be the case that the man was a butcher once, but is no longer. He might also have been a medical assistant. Who knows? That's why we need the testimonies of the other Joseph and Dr. Tumblety in order to be certain.
What shall we do, Holmes?
As the police's cooperation is futile and can be ruled out, we have nothing to do but wait. Watson, wait, and hope we see one of these two men before the killer strikes again.
At last, a long day's work done. How are you doing, Holmes?
Fine, Watson, just fine.
I suppose you still haven't heard any news from Whitechapel.
No, Watson.
It's been almost a month now. Who knows? Our killer may have brought justice upon himself, overcome by remorse and ignominy for his actions.
Not a chance, Watson.
You haven't done anything about the story of a kidney that was sent in the post and reported by the papers. Why not?
The killer left a message on one occasion with the intention of harming. The letter accompanying this package served no purpose other than to give value to its recipient and arouse disgust against its sender. The killer has never done anything for nothing. In order to authenticate the Galston Street message, he left an indisputable piece of evidence. Can we really say as much about this kidney?
I don't know. All I know is that there are letters piling up on your desk. Isn't it time to move on to another case?
Absolutely not, Watson. I think that the other Joseph is reluctant to meet me. The man he saw must certainly have put the fear of God in him, a man well known for his violence and his hatred towards Jews. There can't be any shortage of those in Whitechapel. I have hope yet. As for Dr. Tumblety...
We found him, Mr. Holmes. We found him.
Who's that?
Dr. Bumblebee. He's been locked up by the bobbies, but they've let him loose. Oi! He was looking round like a rat who's scared of his own shadow. He's gonna do a run at years.
Watson, this is our chance. The game is afoot. Let's hope that Tumblety will go to collect his trunk. As for you, my little friends, thank you for lifting this burden that has been on my shoulders for almost a month.
Alright, well it seems like with all of our information acquired and some time has passed, we almost for a while thought the criminal had stopped, but it looks like now it's time to finally find this Tumblety fellow and get his side of the story information. So, who is Jack the Ripper overall? Is he just a simple man of the people? Is he a Jewish man that the community has been hiding? Is he an American doctor? Is he a royal noble? Is he just a simple butcher? We'll find out next time in the finale of Sherlock Holmes vs. Jack the Ripper. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.